The first time he broke my trust, I cried. The second time I didn't shed a tear. I gathered the facts, exposed the lies, and walked away with silence sharp enough to ruin him. He expected heartbreak. What he got was consequences. Because I don't fall twice for the same man, I rise. I used to think betrayal would feel like a slap across the face. Sudden, sharp, undeniable. But in reality it was soft. Quiet. A gentle shift in the air when something that should have felt warm turned cold. Like a velvet box tucked into the wrong pocket. It started with a coat. Damien's coat, to be specific. The gray cashmere one I'd gotten him for Christmas last year. He rarely wore it, said it was too fancy for regular days. But that Friday morning, it was draped over the kitchen stool, damp from a light drizzle and smelling faintly of his cologne. He was in the shower. I was making coffee. The coat looked heavy, misplaced. I reached for it to hang it up properly. That's when it happened. A velvet jewelry box slipped from the inside pocket and hit the tile with a small, elegant thud. My heart stuttered. I stared at it for a moment like it might vanish if I looked away. It was navy blue, square, soft to the touch. My breath caught as I reached down and opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a necklace. Not just any necklace. This was the kind you see in window displays where the price tag is so discreet it's almost threatening. The chain was delicate platinum, and at the center, a marquise-cut diamond framed with smaller stones, shaped like a teardrop. It was beautiful. It was expensive. And I was sure, absolutely sure it was meant for me. His birthday was coming up. Maybe he wanted to surprise me in reverse, give me a gift. Maybe he wanted to make up for being so absent lately. Maybe. The water turned off. I snapped the box shut and slipped it back into his coat pocket like it had burned me. I didn't say anything that morning. Or that evening. But my heart held the box all day. The night of his birthday I wore red. He always liked me in red. Said it made me look like I knew exactly what I wanted, and didn't ask for permission to have it. I curled my hair, put on the lipstick he once said tasted like cinnamon, and waited for the moment. That perfect, cinematic moment when he'd reach into his coat, pull out the velvet box and say something soft like, "You deserve diamonds," or, "I saw it and thought of you." Instead he gave me a sweater. A cashmere, high-necked, oatmeal-colored sweater. Very lovely, very soft. Very safe. I smiled. Said thank you. Hugged him. Even laughed when he jokingly said, "Sorry, I didn't wrap it. I'm terrible at that." The necklace never came. He didn't mention it. And neither did I. 2 days later I found the receipt. It was on the passenger seat of his car, partially shoved under a flyer from a real estate seminar. My name wasn't on it. The shipping address wasn't our condo. But the name on the billing section? Callie Voss. I stared at it for a long time. The car was quiet, engine off. My hands were on the wheel, my eyes on that printed proof of everything I already knew but didn't want to believe. He worked with him. Marketing manager. 27. Champagne blonde. The kind of girl who took too many filtered selfies and spoke in hashtags. I'd seen her once, briefly, at a company gala. She wore a black jumpsuit and clung to Damien's arm for one photo before slipping off to the bar. I remembered thinking she looked like the type of woman who collected married men like trophies. I hated that my instincts were right. That night when he got home I had dinner ready. The lights were dim. Music low. He walked in and kissed my cheek. "Smells amazing," he murmured. "Sit," I said. He did. I served his plate. Poured him wine. Let him eat a few bites. Then I walked around the table, opened my bag and dropped the receipt onto his lap. He froze. The fork clinked against his plate. Silence stretched between us. "Where is it?" I asked. His voice cracked. "Mira. Don't lie," I warned. He looked up and for once I didn't see charm. I saw guilt. Plain, unpolished, ugly guilt. "It was a mistake," he whispered. "A stupid, thoughtless mistake. It didn't mean anything." I didn't flinch. "Who is she?" "No one. Just someone from work." "So you bought a multi-thousand-dollar diamond necklace for no one?" He covered his face with his hands. "I was stupid. I ended it. I swear I ended it." "Before or after you gave her the necklace?" He didn't answer. I turned away, my stomach churning. He stood. Walked over. Dropped to his knees beside me. "I know I messed up," he said. His voice was shaking. "I don't deserve a second chance. But Mira, please, just, please." When I looked down, his eyes were red. He was crying. Hands trembling. Knees pressing into the cold hardwood floor like he meant it. I love you, he said. I don't want anyone else. I don't see anyone else. I made a mistake, but I choose you. Every damn time. Part of me wanted to walk out. Slam the door. Burn everything he ever touched. But another part. The part that had been with him for 5 years. The part that knew how he looked when he was 12 hours into a flight and still bought me airport flowers. The part that remembered late-night pancakes, dancing barefoot in our kitchen, the way he always kissed my wrist before we fell asleep. That part was softer than I wanted to admit. Do you still talk to her? I asked. No, he said instantly. I blocked her. Deleted everything. I swear. And if I check? Go ahead. I've got nothing to hide. I believed him. Or maybe I wanted to believe him. The next morning I stayed home from work. I sat in our living room, still wearing the oversized hoodie I used to steal from him in college, legs folded under me, staring at nothing. Forgiveness is a strange thing. People think it's a gift you give someone else, but it's not. It's something you give yourself so you don't carry the weight of someone else's mistake on your back forever. I made my decision before noon. He walked in tense, wary. I looked up and said, "We're going to therapy. You're canceling your boys' trip next month. And you're earning every inch of my trust back." His face broke. Not into a smile, into relief. Like a man who had narrowly escaped drowning. He came to me, kissed my hands. "I'll never give you a reason to doubt me again," he promised. I wanted to believe that. And maybe foolishly I did. 3 weeks passed. Things were different. Better. He checked in more. Left me notes in the kitchen. Held my hand while watching TV. Started using his phone less around me. We talked about little things. About someday buying a house near the lake. About maybe getting a dog. About starting over. And slowly my heartbeat settled. Maybe love wasn't perfect. Maybe it was messy, painful, cracked down the middle. But if both people wanted to fix it, it was still worth holding on to. I believed in that. I believed in us. Even after the velvet box. Even after the receipt. Even after the lie. Because at the time, God help me, I thought he was worth it. Forgiveness has rules now. It didn't before. Before I trusted with my whole heart. I gave freely, loved loudly. No disclaimers. No conditions. Just faith, foolish, blinding faith. But after the necklace? After her? No more blind spots. So I made a list. 3 rules. 1. Full transparency. If you say you're going somewhere, be there. 2. No secrets. No locked phones. No, it's not what it looks like. 3. 1 chance. Only one. Because I will not survive a second fall. Not for you. When I handed him the list, Damien read it without speaking. Then he nodded. I deserve worse, he said. This is more than fair. Maybe it was. Maybe it wasn't. But it was all I had left to give. We started therapy the following week. A Monday morning session tucked between our work schedules, in a glass-walled office that smelled faintly of lavender and clinical sincerity. The therapist, a calm older woman named Marianne, asked the obvious first. What do you hope to get out of this? I want to rebuild what I broke, Damien said immediately. I waited a moment longer. I want to know if it's even worth rebuilding, I said. He flinched. Good. Back home things were different. Damien became someone else. Someone new. He started cooking again. Pasta with too much garlic, pancakes with uneven edges, soups that somehow made my shoulders drop from their usual tension. He'd play soft music while I worked on client sketches and pour wine into my favorite glass without asking. I'm not trying to win points, he told me once. I just want you to remember why you ever said yes to me. I didn't say it then, but I remembered it all too well. I said yes because I loved the version of him that saw me before I saw myself. But that man? He died somewhere between late-night texts and a diamond necklace for someone who wasn't me. So I tried. Because love, real love, deserves effort even when it's hard. So I showed up too. I shared the bed again. I made him coffee when he left early. I responded when he reached for my hand. I let him kiss me, though part of me still felt like I was kissing a stranger with my husband's face. Work became my sanctuary. I hadn't realized how much of myself I'd put on pause for him. Interior design had always been my world. The thrill of transforming a space, of breathing life into blank walls. My small firm, Juniper and Gold, was busy, creative, and refreshingly filled with women who had zero time for nonsense. My boss, Sienna, called me into her office one afternoon. "You've been on fire this month," she said. "Whatever you're doing, keep doing it." I nodded, surprised by how real her praise felt. When I looked at the design board behind her, a client's sunroom I'd transformed into a reading nook drenched in amber light, it hit me. I was good at this. Not just good, damn good. Somewhere between falling in love and falling apart, I had forgotten. But I was remembering now. Damien noticed the change too. "You're glowing again," he said one night, brushing my hair off my face as we got ready for bed. I raised an eyebrow. "I'm working. Not pregnant." He laughed. "No, really. It's nice to see you like this." I didn't respond. I just smiled and turned off the light. We planned a trip, 3 days upstate by the lake. Fresh air. No phones. "Just us," he said. I agreed, though with a quiet knot in my stomach. Because even now, with things better, I couldn't silence the part of me that waited for the other shoe to drop. But I ignored it. Because if I kept listening to the fear, there'd be nothing left of me to give. And wasn't that the point of therapy? Of healing? To try. One night, I stayed late at the office sketching out a nursery concept for a high-end client. Sienna had gone. The cleaning crew was somewhere down the hall. I needed a charger, so I reached into the storage drawer we often shared and found a box of old office supplies. Under a roll of washi tape, I saw an old event program, a charity gala I'd attended with Damien 2 years ago. I smiled at the memory. My red dress. His stunned expression when I walked down the stairs. The first time he ever introduced me as his future. I flipped through the pages absently, and there it was. A photo. Posed and glowing. And behind us, barely in the background, Callie, looking directly at Damien. My stomach twisted. It wasn't proof. It wasn't new. But it reminded me that some things lurk long after they're supposed to be over. That weekend we had dinner with his parents. His mother hugged me tighter than usual. "It's so good to see you two again. Mira, you're looking radiant." "Thank you," I said politely. His father raised a glass. "To second chances." I smiled, but my fingers dug into the tablecloth beneath. Second chances were fine. It was third chances that broke women in half. I didn't check his phone. I didn't track his locations. Not because I trusted him completely, but because I trusted myself. Something felt off, I'd know. And if he ever lied again, I wouldn't waste another second trying to fix it. That night, I sat by the window and opened my old journal. The one I hadn't touched in months. The one that once held dreams of wedding venues, baby names, and kitchen color schemes. Instead, I turned to a blank page and wrote, "One mistake I can forgive. Just one. But never again. This is his final chance. If he breaks it, I won't just walk away. I'll make sure he never rises again." I signed it. Closed the book. Went to bed beside the man who was trying so hard to be worthy again. But still, didn't quite feel like mine. They say success changes people. But I was starting to wonder if it simply reveals them. Damien came home that Wednesday grinning like a boy who'd just won the lottery. "I got it," he said, throwing his briefcase down and wrapping me in his arms. "Regional director. It's official." His lips brushed my cheek. He was breathless. Sweaty palmed. Ecstatic. I smiled and kissed him. "You earned it." "I don't know if I did," he said. "But I'm not going to waste it." That night, I watched him in the mirror while he changed. Tie loosened, shirt half unbuttoned, pacing like adrenaline wouldn't let him sit. For the first time in a while, he looked alive again. And for a flicker of a moment, I believed the man I fell in love with might still be buried beneath the damage. I threw him a small surprise dinner that weekend. Just 8 people. His closest friends, a few work allies, and Sienna from my office who'd always been oddly supportive of our marriage. Damien looked stunned when he walked in. "You did all this? Unless you think one of your side flings knows how to perfectly fold napkins." He froze. I smirked. "I'm kidding." He laughed, but it was a second too late. The night passed without incident. He toasted, he joked, he said the right things. Even called me the reason behind his resilience. It should have been sweet. But it felt polished. Performed. Like something he rehearsed on the way home. The days that followed were deceptively perfect. Damien started sending me coffee at the office. He left little notes on the fridge. We talked about house hunting, big windows, corner kitchen, maybe even a garden. I saw a cottage online, he said one night. Needs work. But I thought you'd love designing it. It was everything I had wanted months ago. But now each word hit with the weight of too late. So I played along. Because pretending was easier than doubting again. Then came the inconsistencies. A missed lunch, he claimed it was a client emergency. But his assistant posted a photo of him at a rooftop bar during that exact hour. He skipped therapy. Claimed it was rescheduled. It wasn't. One night he came home smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't own. Not cheap. Something warm and expensive, layered. I asked, "Did someone hug you today?" He blinked. "What? You smell different." "Oh, that." One of the interns spilled espresso. I helped her clean up. Maybe it rubbed off. I nodded. Of course. But something sharp twisted in my chest. I told myself I was paranoid. That old fear was trying to resurface, clawing its way through the fragile calm we'd built. I didn't want to go there again. I didn't want to be the suspicious wife. The one who checked phones and read into receipts. So I buried it. Until I couldn't. At work, while reviewing fabric samples with a vendor, small talk shifted into something strange. "You said your husband's at Holcomb, right?" the vendor asked. "Yeah." "Why?" He laughed. "I could have sworn I saw you at their retreat last month." "Upstate? Gorgeous resort." I frowned. "I wasn't there." He looked confused. "They introduced a Mrs. West at the leadership dinner. Must have been someone else. Same last name then." I smiled, but my throat had gone dry. "Probably." He moved on. I didn't. That night, Damien came home to dinner already served. I asked gently, "How was the retreat?" He paused, calculating. "Which one?" "The upstate Holcomb retreat. Leadership thing." "Oh." He sat down. "Right. Yeah, I was boring. Nothing but strategy talk." "Anyone bring spouses?" "Don't think so." "Why?" "Someone thought I was there." He chuckled. "Must have been my evil twin." He smiled and I smiled back. But deep down something in me had snapped back to full alert. A few nights later my laptop crashed mid-project. I grabbed Damien's, he'd left it open on the kitchen counter. Just needed the browser. But as I opened a new tab something caught my eye on the desktop. A folder. Fifus. Like a bruise I couldn't stop pressing. It was always there, behind his smile, beneath every "I love you," curled inside his clean-scented shirts. Every time I touched him I wondered how close I was to her shadow. It took me 3 days to open it. And when I did, it didn't knock the breath out of me. It didn't shatter my world. It simply confirmed what I already knew and feared, the moment I forgave him the first time. Damien West was a man who learned nothing. The folder was neat. Of course it was. Damien organized his betrayals the way he organized his work. Tidy, rehearsed, efficient. The first file was a PDF titled Q1 Consulting, Travel and Lodging. I clicked it. Callie Voss. 2 business class flights. 3 hotel bookings. Meals comped. All signed by Damien's hand. The second file. A blank HR form with Strategic Advisor, Voss, scrawled in the margins. No official offer. No digital record in the company system. A ghost employee, buried under made-up roles and forged, external collaboration. The third was worse. Email chains between Damien and his firm's senior administrator. Keep her off HQ payroll. We'll filter it through vendor accounts. She doesn't need official access, just comms and logistics. I'll handle onboarding directly. No signature. No guilt. Just strategy. He hadn't just brought her back. He'd protected her. I shut the laptop with shaking fingers. Then I stared at my reflection in the microwave door. The warped glass showed a woman I barely recognized. Her eyes were clear but dead. Her mouth pressed into a line too tired to tremble. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. Instead I opened a browser and typed 4 words. Private investigator near me. Her name was Bree Santiago. Short. No nonsense. She wore black cargo pants, a tucked-in t-shirt, and had the energy of someone who'd rather break into a safe than talk about her feelings. I gave her names, dates, patterns, a copy of the emails. She didn't ask how I got them. She just wrote it all down. "How fast do you need proof?" she asked. "As fast as you'd want it," I replied. If it were your life being spit on. She nodded once. Give me a few days. During those days, Damien transformed into Prince Charming. He picked up takeout from my favorite Thai place. He left a handwritten note in my coat pocket. You make the world feel possible. He planned a weekend cabin trip. No Wi-Fi, just us, he said with a boyish grin. Each moment was a knife. I smiled. I kissed him. I played my part. Because you don't alert the mouse when you're setting the trap. On day 5, Bree texted. Got what you need. Meet. She handed me a plain manila envelope at a downtown cafe. Didn't sit. Didn't linger. Photos. Dates. Logs. Copies of hotel surveillance footage. GPS trails from his car. All in there, she said. I nodded numb. Thank you. One more thing, she added before walking off. He paid for one of the rooms using your joint credit card. And just like that, my pulse came back. That night I made dinner. Steak. Roasted potatoes. Wine. All his favorites. He walked in and kissed my neck. God, I love you, he whispered. I set his plate down and smiled. I know. We talked. He told me about some new account he'd landed. I asked him if he was tired. He said no, just wired from winning. After dessert, I stood up and walked to my bag. Pulled out the folder. Dropped it beside his fork. He looked at it, confused. What's this? He asked. Proof. He opened it slowly. Flip. Photo of him checking into a hotel with Callie. Flip. Receipt for a room booked under a different name. His handwriting on the sign-in sheet. Flip. Her lipstick on a napkin at the bar they visited after. His face didn't collapse. No guilt. No horror. Just annoyance. He pushed the folder aside. You went through my things? No, I said calmly. I hired someone to go through your things. He ran a hand down his jaw. Mira, I don't know what you think this is. I think it's exactly what it looks like. You've been so distant lately. Stop. He did. I gave you one rule, Damien. Just one. One betrayal I could survive. One mistake I was willing to hold both of us accountable for. I stepped back. My voice stayed even. Controlled. But you did it again. And this time, you didn't even bother pretending you were sorry. Still no apology. He stood. Walked toward me. Don't walk away from this. I tilted my head. Why not? Because we can fix this. We've already done it once. No, Damien, I said coldly. I fixed it. You just showed up after the wreckage and acted sad until I taped us back together. His lips parted, but I was already done. I turned, walked into the bedroom and pulled out the bag I'd packed earlier. He followed me to the door, voice rising. Mira, don't do this. Be reasonable. I was. You weren't. My hand on the knob, I paused. Then looked back. The first time I broke, I said. The second time you will. And I left. The elevator ride was silent. The city lights outside the cab were quiet blurs. I didn't cry. I didn't text anyone. I just watched the man I once built a life around grow smaller in the rearview mirror. Biz now. I was done patching up a man who couldn't keep his lies straight. And if he thought this was the end, he was going to learn just how wrong he was. Silence is a weapon. And wielded properly, it cuts deeper than any scream. I didn't post a breakup quote. Didn't block Damien. Didn't cry in public. I simply vanished. And that scared him more than any dramatic exit could have. For the first week I stayed at Sienna's place. My best friend and a senior architect at the firm. She handed me a set of keys and said, ruin him. Quietly. So I did. It started with a nudge. An anonymous envelope sent to Holcomb Corporation's compliance officer. Inside, printouts of Damien's expense authorizations, memos redirecting vendor funds to Callie Voss, and the unsigned external advisor contract with her name. No return address. No fingerprints. The next went to the company's largest investor group. I included the hotel photos in that one, grainy, time-stamped, undeniable. Each sealed with an anonymous note. This is who's handling your money. And then I waited. The ripples came quickly. First, Callie disappeared from Holcomb's social media. Then her LinkedIn changed, no longer affiliated. An HR bulletin went out. Unauthorized consultancy relationships are under investigation. 2 days later, an internal email from Holcomb CEO leaked, strict new audit policies for director-level expenses. Damien was named. Not directly, but his department was. He must have known. Because that night he called me 5 times. I didn't answer. The next day I walked into a downtown coffee shop for a client meeting and overheard 2 junior execs whispering. I heard West's team is under compliance review. Didn't his wife leave him? Apparently she knew everything. They're saying it wasn't the first time. I sipped my espresso slowly. Let them wonder. Let them guess. Let them know. Damien finally sent a message. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're destroying everything I've worked for. I stared at it for 10 seconds. Then deleted it. The next leak was precise. Callie's NDA violation. She'd shared sensitive market data with a competitor, hoping to secure a job offer. I hadn't planned on that one. But Bree, the PI, found it while scraping through deleted emails. I packaged it. Sent it to Holcomb's legal team. Anonymous. Callie was blacklisted within the week. On the surface I smiled through meetings and design pitches. I nodded at interns and approved sketches. But under the calm, I was slicing away at the man who had used me. And it felt like breathing for the first time. Then he showed up. It was a Thursday. Late. I had just come home from site visits, makeup worn off, coat soaked in rain. He was sitting on Sienna's front steps. Damien. Suit disheveled. Hair wet. Eyes haunted. I almost didn't recognize him. Mira. He stood up, blocking the door. I paused, not bothering to step back. I know you did it, he said. Prove it, I replied. He swallowed. They're freezing my accounts. Investors are backing out. Everyone's turning on me. I said nothing. Iris won't even take my calls anymore. Callie's real name. She had rebranded. Shame. I messed up, he said, voice cracking. I know I did. But you're the only thing that ever made sense. That's ironic, I replied, brushing past him. Because you treated me like I was disposable. I wasn't thinking straight. No, I cut him off. You were thinking perfectly straight. You just didn't think I'd leave. He followed me to the porch. Mira, please. Don't let this end like this. You mean don't let it end with consequences? He dropped to his knees. Actually knelt on the sidewalk, hands clasped like some Shakespearean ghost. I lost everything, he said. I crouched slightly, looked him in the eye. No, Damien. You lost me. Everything else. You threw that away long before I lit the match. He sobbed once, a short, pathetic sound. I stood tall. You broke me once, I said. You broke us twice. I turned to the door. But this is just you breaking yourself. And I walked inside. The door clicked shut behind me. I didn't look back. He had always believed I was too soft, too forgiving, too loyal. But he forgot that the woman who forgives once is often the same woman who burns everything down the second time. Quietly, brutally, completely. Some people destroy themselves loudly. Others rot in silence. Damien was somewhere in between, unraveling in slow, desperate waves that echoed louder the more I refused to speak. After the night he knelt on Sienna's porch, I didn't hear from him again. Not directly, at least. But the world? It was humming. Holcomb Corporation made a quiet announcement. Internal reshuffling due to compliance concerns. Damien's name didn't appear, but his photo was quietly removed from the leadership page. Callie, Iris as she preferred in boardrooms, had vanished completely. No LinkedIn. No company page. Not even whispers. Just wiped. A silent reckoning. Exactly what they deserved. I said nothing. No cryptic Instagram posts. No tell-all interviews. No anonymous blogs. I simply got up every morning, drank my coffee and got to work. Work looked different now. Sienna and I had quietly filed for a boutique design license. Nothing fancy. Just something ours. The name? Reform Studio. It felt appropriate. We didn't even have an office yet. Just my laptop and a table at a local shared workspace. But it was enough. Blueprints. Mood boards. Calls with vendors who actually listened when I spoke. The silence Damien left behind wasn't empty. It was fertile. And for the first time in years I was building something with both hands. Not just holding something broken together. Leo called one afternoon while I was organizing fabric samples. He wasn't a surprise. He never was. Childhood friend. Tattooed knuckles. Artist in the city's forgotten corners. The kind of man who looked like he might never belong in a suit, but somehow carried more integrity in his paint-stained hands than Damien ever had in his entire curated life. Just checking, he said. Still breathing. More than that, I replied. I'm painting the damn walls. He didn't ask about Damien. Didn't offer pity. Just said, come by the studio sometime. Bring coffee. Don't bring closure. We don't serve that here. A week later, Damien resurfaced. In print. Sienna slapped a magazine down on our shared desk. Page 14, she said flatly. It was an article, clearly staged, probably planted by his PR team. The headline: Redemption or Ruin. Damien West breaks his silence. In it, Damien sat in a soft-lit chair, hands folded, jaw clenched in a way that said vulnerable but still powerful. The piece painted him as a misunderstood visionary. A man whose ambition outpaced his emotional maturity. There was even a quote. I lost the one person who made me better. I hope she knows how deeply sorry I am. He hadn't said my name, but everyone knew. The comments were split, some calling him brave, others trashing him. My phone buzzed with messages I didn't open. I didn't post anything. Didn't deny. Didn't confirm. Instead, I lit a candle. Sat down. Sketched an open-concept gallery renovation for a client who reminded me what trust actually looked like. That was my answer. Silence was my answer. He showed up again 2 days later. I was walking back from a vendor meeting, hair messy, bag slung across one shoulder, notebook pressed to my chest. He stepped out from beside my building. Damien. Dressed down. Hoodie. Cap unshaven. He looked defeated. But underneath it I still saw it, that flicker of entitlement. Mira, he said, stepping into my path. I stopped. Don't do this. I had no one else. You still don't. He reached into his pocket, pulled out a crumpled article. The same one from the magazine. I meant what I said, he murmured. Every word. I stared at him. Then at the photo in his hand. Perfect lighting. Curated pose. You mean the words your PR rep wrote? No. I needed people to understand my side. And what side is that? I asked calmly. The one where you cheated twice, lied through therapy, then cried for sympathy when the consequences arrived? He blinked. I stepped around him. Mira, he grabbed my wrist. I turned. Slowly. Don't touch me. He let go. I didn't come to fight, he said. His voice cracked. I'm drowning. I looked him over. Not everything that bleeds, I said softly, comes crawling back. He exhaled, confused. What does that mean? It means I'm not here to save you. And I left him there. On the street. Clutching a page from a magazine no one would remember in 2 months. Back upstairs I closed the blinds. I opened a fresh design file. And smiled. Let him unravel. I wasn't his audience anymore. You never realize how much space someone took up until they're gone. And not just physically, no, that's the easy part. It's the way the silence stretches longer. The way your mornings return to your rhythm. The way your walls suddenly look like yours. After Damien, I didn't just reclaim my life. I rebuilt it. Brick by stubborn, beautiful brick. The apartment I chose wasn't large. 2 rooms. Exposed beams. Big windows that drank the sun like water. It smelled like lemonwood polish and possibility. The first night I lay on the floor in a nest of pillows, sipping tea and staring at the ceiling fan. No one would snore beside me. No one would leave wet towels on the floor. No one would lie to my face with his hand on my waist. And for the first time that didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like peace. Sienna came by the next day with paint swatches and sarcasm. I brought 57 shades of white because God forbid you pick one that doesn't emotionally haunt a room. I laughed. We painted the walls together. Wine in one hand, roller in the other. By the 3rd coat she stepped back, looked around and nodded. You did it. Did what? Burned it down. Now look at you. Glowing in the ashes. I smiled, cheeks streaked with ivory smudges. She wasn't wrong. Reform Studio was gaining traction. We landed our first official client. A boutique bakery with a dream and a disastrous layout. Sienna handled the layout, I handled the look. Leo showed up with takeout the night we pulled our first all-nighter. You two need protein and something that's not dust from concrete. He dropped the bags on the floor and glanced around. Not bad, he said, nodding at the blueprints. You made space feel soft without making it weak. I looked at him, surprised. You notice things like that? I'm an artist, Mira. I don't just smear paint and cry about my childhood. A few nights later, I finally took Leo up on his invitation. His studio was tucked in an old warehouse downtown. Raw and half-lit, paint-splattered floors, brushes in mason jars, music playing low in the background. He didn't greet me with words. Just offered a coffee mug, warm and chipped. I wandered, pausing in front of a piece that stopped me cold. A canvas of a woman, faceless but full of fire. Not raging. Not chaotic. Just standing in smoke, holding a match between her fingers. I turned. Is this? He nodded. I painted it before you burned anything. Somehow I knew you would. My throat tightened. I didn't come here to cry, Leo. You won't, he said simply. You already bled. This part's just healing. We sat side by side on an old leather couch, legs tucked, no pressure. No need for declarations. No weight of expectations. Just two people breathing in the same quiet, contented space. He didn't try to touch me. Didn't reach for my hand. He just stayed. And in that stillness I realized. Healing wasn't always loud. Sometimes it was a man who didn't ask for anything but still made you feel seen. Weeks passed. Reform Studio landed 2 new contracts. Word spread. My inbox overflowed. And not once, did I think about Damien. His name no longer caught in my chest. His voice no longer echoed in my head. Whatever remnants of him existed had burned away with the old version of me. One afternoon, Leo helped me carry shelving into the new space we were renting. A small storefront, mostly for display and client walk-ins. We sat on the floor again, full circle, greasy pizza box between us, sun slanting in. I like this life, I said suddenly. He looked over. You deserve to. I tilted my head. You know, you were the only person who didn't try to fix me. Wasn't my job, he shrugged. You're not broken. Just forged. The room was quiet. I reached over, took his hand and laced our fingers. Thank you, I said. Anytime, he replied. No kiss. No fireworks. Just a moment. One that felt like the start of everything. I once thought survival meant staying. Now I know survival is leaving, and still choosing to love the world afterward. Some endings aren't explosive. They don't break windows or split skies. They just fade. Quietly. Until the noise becomes background and the grief becomes a ghost you no longer recognize. That's how Damien West ended in my life. Not with a crash, but with silence. And this time it was mine. 3 months after he'd last appeared, I heard from him again. Not in person. Not online. Just a plain envelope tucked beneath the door of my studio. No return address. No stamp. Just my name written in careful, slanted ink. I stood there for a moment, envelope in hand, coffee growing cold beside me. I didn't tear it open. I didn't tremble. I sat on the windowsill, watched the sun pour through dusty glass, and finally slit the envelope with a pencil tip. Inside was a single page. Folded. Thick paper. Handwritten. No dramatic flourishes. Just his words. I won't ask you to forgive me. I just want to say sorry. Not for losing you, I deserved that. But for every moment I made you question your own worth. You were the best thing I had. And I wasn't man enough to keep you. Whatever life you build next. I hope it's everything I couldn't give you. Damien. It wasn't an excuse. It wasn't even closure. It was just truth. Too late but clean. I folded the letter once. Then again. Walked to the small ceramic bowl I kept near the sink. The one that held matches. Struck one. The paper curled, browned, and finally disappeared into ash. I didn't feel powerful. I felt whole. 2 weeks later, a journalist from a business media outlet emailed me. Said she was doing a feature on fallen tech executives and the women they left behind. She asked for a quote. I wrote back one line. That chapter is closed. And I'm not the woman he left behind. I'm the woman who walked away. I never heard from her again. Reform Studio had just finished its first major client renovation. A children's bookstore and cafe hybrid that smelled like fresh bread and new pages. The grand opening was chaos in the best way. Paper lanterns, sticky fingers, soft jazz. Kids everywhere. Adults pretending not to cry over scones. Leo showed up late with coffee in one hand and a bouquet of chamomile and blue thistle in the other. I brought peace and chaos, he said. You can decide which is which. I laughed. He slipped an arm around my waist and kissed the top of my head, like we'd been doing this forever. And maybe in a way we had. Just not like this. Later that night we stayed behind in the bookstore after everyone had gone home. Sitting on the carpet, backs against the newly built reading nook, fairy lights blinking overhead. I want to paint this, Leo said, looking around. I leaned against his shoulder. The room. No. This. In this moment. Content. Alive. I didn't say anything for a while. Then I murmured, I used to think I had to break to be reborn. You didn't break, he said. You transformed. When we returned to the studio it was quiet, just moonlight across glass and the soft hum of computers resting. I pulled a scarf from my coat hook, one I'd knitted for no one in particular. Soft charcoal gray, a little uneven on the edges. I wrapped it around Leo's neck. He raised an eyebrow. Is this symbolic? Extremely. We laughed. He leaned in, not for permission, not out of expectation. Just instinct. And when he kissed me it wasn't fireworks or thunder. It was warmth. Steady. Like a home I hadn't realized I'd already built. Now I wake up in the mornings and don't flinch at sunlight. I don't check for messages that never come. I don't reread words I wish I could forget. I don't carry love like it's something to be earned. I just live. In the silence I claimed. In the rooms I designed. In the spaces I filled without apology. Not every survivor builds an empire. Some build quiet, soft lives, full of joy, full of color. And for me, that was enough. The end.